Hello and welcome to Boomerang Beyond Wellness. I'm Angela Fischetti. So today we're going to do a beginner's yoga on the ball. Nothing fancy at all. However, the reason why I chose to do this on the ball is because the ball will bring in the element of balance, and that's really great for us. So the accessories we'll be using will be a sticky yoga mat, obviously a ball. Now I am 5'6¼ , 5'6½", something like this, and I use a 65-centimeter ball. And we'll also be using a yoga strap, and I do prefer 8 feet and longer, and also 2 yoga blocks. You do want to make sure that they are the same size as each other. Now, as far as the medical disclaimers and precautionary measures, I'm going to go right into them. The ball, it's usually made out of latex, so if you have a latex allergy, you want to look for non-latex or latex-free. So now let's go into the issues. What I want to do is begin with this, saying that if you have any chronic health concern whatsoever, I'm going to invite you to preview the video, observe it, and look for what you can do before participating. However, if you're not sure, then I would invite the medical healthcare practitioner who knows your body best to preview it as well to help you make an informed decision. Now, if you have any back spine issues, but in particular with flexion of the spine where you've been told not to bend down and pick up something. Also, if you have osteoporosis of the spine, and if you have a postural deviation called hyperkyphosis, that's where you have kind of this hunched appearance. All of you, please do not do the forward flexion. So I will be doing certain movements that I will be flexing the spine. However, in particular, I might decide to do something called a Sufi grind. So with a Sufi grind, I like to do this kind of movement. It's real big, it's delicious, but not you, all right? So how you can handle this is you bring the feet a bit closer together, and then you take that movement real tiny here. It real small, and let me tell you, that is going to be a lot of core work. So I like to think of this as like a belly dance movement or even a hula. All right, so that's your modification right away off the bat. It's your responsibility to retain this information and then apply it into the yoga practice. Now, the next would be if you're medicated or not for hypertension, you have vertigo or GERD. You do want to avoid this position of the cervical spine of the neck. Just simply dropping the head down. That's forward flexion of the cervical spine. Please, you folks, keep your head up neutral. Also, for those of you with TIA, transient ischemic attack, or a stroke, I'm going to be doing something called, I call it a modified cobra, Bhujangasana. And basically, I'm going to bring my arms behind me. I'm going to thrust up that chest. It is a back bend. This is a spine extension. However, I like to lift the head. Not TIA stroke, please. You're going to bring your chin to neutral. Now I'm going to hold here for the moment because I want to call something to the attention of those with carpal tunnel syndrome. We want to avoid this hand position. It's really wrist extension. You want to avoid that. Doesn't matter where the arms are. So when I do this, sometimes people like to do it with the wrists extended, and I like that as well, but not for you. All you need to do is cup your fingertips to the ball and your wrists will be straight. As long as you bring those shoulders back, present the chest, you're fine. Now, pardon me, I want to return to osteoporosis, but of the hip and hip replacement. See this position that I'm in, and I did it for the Sufi grind. I'll also be doing it for like a seated wide angle and a separated leg stretch type thing. You may have been advised not to bring your legs super wide apart. Then you don't. So you just work with those legs closer together. Now, for osteoporosis of the spine as well, I will be doing a twist at one point. You folks keep that movement, small range of motion, unless you've been approved medically that you can go all the way and take the posture to the fullest. Otherwise, for your twists, we want to shorten the range of motion. Let's see what else I want to tell you. I have a couple of other things, of course. So if you have a rotator cuff muscle issue, it's deep to the shoulder joints, the shoulder muscles, the deltoids. And also if you have pinched nerve at the neck, and I'm going to re-invite those of you who are medicated or not for hypertension. I'll be doing something called the lateral flexion. It's a form of an Anjaneyasana, crescent moon, where I will be stretching, but the side of the body. So the lateral flexion means the side of the body. And then I'm going to bring that arm up and over. For you folks, please keep your hand to your waist. You can still get the side bend without offending that shoulder joint. So I think I've covered it all. I might come up with other stuff during the actual session. Yes, there is one other that I'm missing here with you, and this is really important. Those of you with vestibular challenges to your balance, do not use the ball. Just take a chair, the standard sturdy folding chair, and you can do it there. Another piece of advice for you would be to never work out or exercise by yourself, to always have a companion with you. All right, so I want to talk to you about how you sit on the ball. I've discussed this as it pertains to the chair, but a lot of it holds on the ball as well. But there's something else to show you here with the ball. Oftentimes people sit on a ball, and in order to make themselves steady, they go wide. But not only do they go really wide, which is okay when you're consciously doing it, they do this. See that? So you slip your ankles are almost under the ball, and your calf muscles, the back of the low leg, they're actually touching the ball, which means you have almost completely minimized the element of balance. I want you to have the balance here to challenge. So I'm going to bring my feet a bit closer together than that and line up just like I do. I'm going to face you. Just like I do when we're standing in the athletic ready stance, you want to place your hands to the inside of the high hip bone. So that's the iliac crest. So I want to line up so my knees are just a little too wide there, as well as my ankles. All of this in the same line. And then I travel down, knees down to the ankles, and just make sure you're not tucked under here. And what else to tell you? Yes, one more thing about sitting on the ball. I like to place the hands underneath the buttock flesh, pull the flesh not only straight back, but then wick it out wide toward the shoulders. Now, when I do that, it puts me up and forward on the front edge of the ischial tuberosity. In yoga, we call this the sits bones. And notice as well here, folks, here at the hip. So here's the acetobulofemoral joint, the hip joint, also known as the coxal joint. You can see very clearly that my hip joint is a little bit higher than my knee joint, the tibiofemoral joint, and that is also very important for those of you who might have sciatica issues or piriformis syndrome, or just maybe lower back stuff. You want to be up and forward. You don't want this to start happening, because a lot of times people, when they get on a ball, they roll down, and I want you up and back on the ball. So I think that's all of the comments for all of that. We're actually going to begin here in just a moment. I think I'm going to work here diagonally for you, and at least on the first movement. I want you to rest your hands on top of your thighs, palms down. And on the inhale, I'm going to glide the hands up toward the top of the thighs, open the chest, roll the shoulders back, lift the chin. Those of you who know not to do that already know your modification. And this is a spine extension, a back bend. This is known as the seated cow. Now on the exhale, those of you with the spine flexion issues, you come to neutral just here, while the rest of us will come into spine flexion. Notice my head is up. I move my head at the very end to lower it down. hooking the hands over the knees, drawing that belly button in toward the small of the back. You almost want to think it's coming out the lower back like a seated abdominal crunch. And then inhale, we come into spine extension, the seated cow. Here's the seated cat. So the breath in yoga is done in and out through the nose if possible. Warming all of this up. One more. Inhale. And then exhale, hold. Work those abdominals by pulling that belly button deeply in. I am engaging the deepest of the core, the transverse abdominis. And then slowly roll up. And I'm going to stay here diagonal for a moment. I want you to see the shoulder rolls. Notice that my elbows are relaxing. I'm not pumping my elbows. Lifting up, back, and down. Great movement if you're at the desk for hours in your chair. And let me come back to center, facing you. So now, I'd like to come into what's called Prasarita Padottanasana, separated leg stretch. I am bringing my feet wider than my hips. Holding steady here. Bringing the arms out. Inhale. Turn the thumbs down. Exhale, interlock the fingers behind you and open the chest. So let's go diagonal for you. And I want to show you something that if you have a tendency, instead of being here, where I have the palms absolutely touching each other, the wrists are really close together, shoulder blades retracted, some people separate the fingers, they're not interlocked, and they do this. They're collapsing, thinking they're getting their arms further back. They're not. So this is where you grab your yoga strap, and I'm going to fold it in half here because it's really long, and you bring it behind you. I'm doing this straight on camera for you on purpose. The hands are slightly wider than the shoulders. Please sit up tall, and you can draw your arms back, and the chest is lifted, and there's none of this uncomfortable feeling going on. Now I'm going to try this with my legs out wider and the feet slightly turned out. Ah, that feels good. And breathing in and out through the nose. And then I am going to, with my chin up, coming forward here. Keep the head up, especially if you're medicated or not for hypertension, have vertigo or GERD. And then when I cannot go any further, I'm going to cup my fingertips to the floor. You can choose to use a block. You can put a block underneath each hand. I'm keeping that head up. Oh boy, when I walk the hands even further out, I bring the torso a little lower, belly button fully in. Do not drop the head. We're lengthening the back. And this is wonderful for the QL, the quadratus lumborum muscles, just below that floating 12th rib. And it attaches at your lower back at the transverse processes in the lumbar region of your spine, as well as along that posterior iliac crest. And maybe I'm going to bring the palms flat, still keeping the head up, pressing the knees open. And are you breathing? Now, the only time you drop your head down is when you're really comfortable doing it and you don't have any contraindications for cervical spine flexion. So I'm going to bring the hands closer in, let the head go. Breath in and out. I'm going to cup the fingertips, bring them out front. Inhaling and exhaling. Then I'm going to bring my forearms to the thighs, lifting the torso, holding for the moment, pushing the thighs open, lengthening that back. This is beautiful also, by the way, for your sacroiliac joint, mobility of that joint. Also wonderful for sciatica and piriformis syndrome issues. Not when everything is acute. You don't want to do this stuff when pain is real acute. And then slowly come up and lengthen forward, all the way up. Inhale, and then exhale, toe, heel the feet closer together. Just want to take some nice big shoulder rolls. Now let's take a counter position. So I'm going to turn here. Let's go for that back extension, that spine extension. I'm going to cup the fingertips for carpal tunnel. Puff up the chest, lift the chin where it is appropriate, right? And then maybe I'm going to do it with the wrists extended, palms flat, and open up that chest even more. Inhale, lift the head. Always do it on the inhale, preventing orthostatic hypotension, a rapid plunge of the blood pressure. And then exhale, let it go. Shoulder rolls, very nice. Feels great. And I'll turn forward here for you. Now I'm going to come into what's called a seated wide angle. And legs wide apart. Turning the feet out laterally. We want the knees to track over the second to third toes. Now I'm going to place the backs of my hands into the inner thighs, not the inner knees. I don't want to push on the patella, the kneecap, ever, because you can malalign it this way. So I'm just going to press open, but I'm really pushing down on my feet to lift and lengthen the spine, shoulders back and down. Just holding here, stretching those inner thigh muscles, the hip adductors. So I believe this one is called Upavishta Konasana, seated wide angle, sit up tall. Just let those inner thighs stretch out. And breathe. And then placing the hands on top of your thighs. It's actually, you know what? I don't want to toe heel yet. I want to bring another element in here for you. So I want to work those calf muscles. When you sit at a desk for hours, when you are sitting because of health, you need to be in a chair. Your fluid in your bodies could pool down into your lower extremities, into the calves, into the ankles, into the feet. So a great way to offset this is while you're sitting, I'm going to do alternate heel raises. Now I'm articulating so that I'm pressing down slowly. I want to get through the entire length of the foot. This is not about speed. This is about getting that contraction. I'm going to bring that foot in a little bit more. I don't feel enough of the contraction of the calf. That's it. And lifting. And one of those calf muscles, the soleus, is indeed responsible for the venous return of your blood. Partially responsible, I should say. So that means sending the blood back up to the heart. We don't want the fluid to pool down. Listen, when I stand a lot at my computer, right, with my work, the fluid can move, so I'm always doing heel raises when I'm at the desk. And then I just want to do one more on this side. Great. You want to feel for getting up way high on the balls of the feet. So now I'm going to lift both, and I'm not going to hold on, because that just allows me a moment of leveling up. I'm going to lift those heels, pause, and let's just try one more and release it down. So now I'm going to toe heel just a little closer together. I'm going to hold there, maybe keep the feet a little bit wider than the hips, that's fine. So with the hands down, I'm now going to do that little hula, that little belly dance, that smaller version of the Sufi grind. And what's really happening here, I'm doing some spine flexion and extension. I'm doing a little hint of lateral flexion and rotation. Oh, so feels so good. And reverse direction. Just try not to collapse down too much. There is that little subtle spine flexion, that's okay. And one more. And now holding here, I want to take that lateral flexion. So keeping the feet a little bit wider than the hips. You can choose to do this a couple of ways. You can bring your cupped fingertips to the side of the ball or keep your hand on your thigh. I don't care, whichever way works best for you. I'm going to try it maybe both ways. We'll see how my body feels. So I'm going to cup my left fingertips to the ball, bringing the right hand to the waist, sitting tall, inhale. Now on the exhale, with my right hand, I place them on my outer left ribs and I spiral the chest away from the floor. I don't want to turn down toward the floor. That's going to collapse my side organs. I want to keep them lifted. Inhale, exhale. I'm going to bring that arm up and over. Breath in and out through the nose. So I'm stretching those intercostal muscles between the ribs. You know about them, right? We talk about them when we do the side stretching. They're responsible for 25% of your respiratory cycle. Now inhale, turn that right palm up. Grab an imaginary hook. Exhale, push down into that right heel and reach out to the right. Cup the fingertips to the ball or place palm on lap. Opposite hand to the waist. Inhale, slide down. Exhale, self-adjust, right? Taking those right ribs, sternum, your breastbone toward the ceiling, and then bringing that arm up and over. So I'm reaching down through the right middle finger, reaching up and over through the left middle finger, also stretching the internal and external oblique muscles near your waist, responsible bit for turning and twisting the torso. And inhale, turn the palm up, push down into that left heel, vigorously reach out. Exhale, let's roll those shoulders. Let's lift them up, back, and down. Relax your elbows, folks. Now that we stretched your breathing accessory muscles, let's work them a bit. I'm going to toe heel the feet a little closer together, readjust my buttock flesh. I want you to place your hands on your side ribs. Notice I'm not in front of the rib cage and I don't have the hands like at the waist, right on those side ribs. And I would like you to think that you're going to breathe and your ribs are going to expand on the inhale like an accordion. So I call this the accordion breath. Inhale. And exhale, they will naturally retract. Now when I talk, I'm exhaling, right? And inhale. And exhale. We don't want to muscle it up and push the ribs open wide. Just let the diaphragm do its job. Inhale. Exhale. Let's go for two more. Release the arms down. Now what I'd like to do is come into a wide-legged version of the Sufi grind. You go as big or as small as you wish to go. Remember, hip replacement, osteoporosis of the hip. Do not bring those feet super wide apart, those thighs super wide apart. And I'm going to reverse direction. Ooh, my spine is getting adjusted. This is great. And one more time, back to center. Hold for the moment with some shoulder rolls. And now I'm going to toe heel for sure. The feet just a little bit closer together. Now, because I have the microphone where I have it, I'm not going to fully be able to self-hug. So I like to do something called self-hug into rock the baby. So what I'd like you to do is bring your arms open wide, and then I'm just going to show a bit of it here. You're going to take a big self-hug where you're trying to reach your fingertips behind those shoulder blades, wedge them in. I'm going to have to just bring my arms lower and take a hold of my elbows. So holding here in that self-hug, now we're going to rock the baby. But what I'm really doing here, folks, is I'm not just haphazardly and without thinking about it, swinging around. I am rotating, but notice I'm not turning my hips to do it. I'm going from, which for me is very challenging, the thoracic region of the spine. It's between your cervical spine and the lumbar spine. I think my movements might be too big, so I'm going to make them even smaller, and I'm going to apply more pressure down to my feet. So when I rotate here to the left, I'm going to push down into the right heel, and when I go to the right, I'm going to push into that left heel, and that helps to control it for me, so I'm not overly swinging from the hips. One more, and then back to center. Once again, relax the arms and the shoulders, and now let's come into some of the work that you would do standing, but we can do it on the ball. So I'm going to bring the legs out wide, making sure you're up on top of the ball. You want to turn that right foot out at 90, pivot the outer left heel, and you want to make sure your pressure points here are in the outer left heel and the mound of the front right big toe. Basically, you're looking for your front heel to bisect the mid-arch of the back foot, to be in that line of the arch of the back foot. Now for men, or I really should say for males, this is such an easy pose. But for females, not so much. So, because we're wider at the hips and all that. So I'm going to place my right hand on my right inner thigh, and I'm going to hook my left fingers to that high hip bone, that iliac crest, and I'm going to draw both. I'm going to pull that left side back toward the wall behind me as I push the right side toward the wall behind me. And you can self-adjust here in a variation of Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. You can choose to stay here or turn your head, look over your right shoulder, lift your arms up. You want to equally think that somebody is pulling you back through the left middle finger while somebody is pulling you forward through the right. You want to split the mat in half with the power of your 2 feet. Inhale, palms up. Exhale, palms down. Belly button in. Inhale, palms up. Exhale, palms down. Inhale, palms up. Exhale, palms down. Now inhale, lean and reach forward. Bend that elbow. Exhale, forearm to thigh, and here we go again. Encourage those right ribs to rotate up, push down strongly in that outer left heel, hand to waist, or straight up, or out on an angle. So I'm going to connect the energy from the outer left heel through the middle finger of the left hand. Uttita Parsva Konasana is extended side angle pose. Now inhale, turn that palm up, grab that imaginary hook. Exhale, return through Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Inhale, I'm going to lean and reach back while somebody's pulling me forward. Exhale, lower left hand down to wherever it comfortably lands on that lateral side of your leg and thigh. And then let's take that right arm up and over. Except for pinched nerve, rotator cuff, and medicated or not for hypertension. Hand to the waist, please. This feels absolutely yummy, but challenging for sure. And then inhale, turn the palm up, grab a hook. Exhale, return through Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. So if your ankle is a little bit trembling, that's great. It's doing its job to help keep you balanced. Inhale, turn the head forward. Exhale, hands to the heart. Turn right foot in, and let's heel toe the feet. Let's come closer together. And I'm going to take the shorter version of that Sufi grind, because it just releases all that just got worked really hard. One more time. This is also a great movement for my prenatal females. Do it standing or on a ball, feels great. Okay, let's try this again. I'm going to bring those legs out. Turn left foot out at 90. Pivot outer right heel. I'm going to make sure I'm up and forward on that ball. Right. And I'm going to press both back. Right fingertips wedged to that left high hip bone, that iliac crest. Push that right hip back, I should say the right, pushing the right hip back, pressing the left thigh back as well. And breathe. So you can stay here. If you're challenged that maybe you're rotating this way and this thigh is collapsing, stay here. Keep self-adjusting. Keep working with your pressure in the outer right heel, the mound of the front left big toe, torso forward. Arms out, inhale, exhale, looking over that left middle finger while somebody's pulling you back through the right. Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Again, split the mat in half with the power of your 2 feet. Inhale, palms up. Exhale, palms down. Inhale, palms up. Exhale, palms down. One more. Inhale, up. Exhale, down. Now inhale, lean and reach forward. Somebody's pulling you back. Exhale, forearm to thigh. Bend that elbow. Push it into that left inner thigh. Right hand to the outer. Left ribs rotate up. But man, I just got an adjustment to my spine. Lucky me. And then arm up and over if you want. Let's connect the energy from the outer right heel through the middle finger of the right hand. In Uttita Parsva Konasana, extended side angle pose. And then inhale, palm up, grab that hook. Exhale, let's return through Warrior 2. Inhale, lean and reach back. Somebody's pulling me forward here. Exhale, lower down, Exalted Warrior. One side may like it better than the other. That's all right. Just kind of notice these things without judgment. Inhale, turn the palm up, grab the hook. Exhale again, Virabhadrasana 2. Inhale, head forward. Exhale, Namaste position at the heart, Anjali Mudra. And then you turn your left foot in, and let's heel toe. My inner thigh's got a big stretch there. And again, I'm going for the Sufi grind, the hula, the belly dance. Just take your time. reversing direction. One more. Back to center. Now, I want you to bring the feet. You can go hips width slightly wider apart would work as well. So here we go. We're going to be doing the twist. Remember, osteoporosis of the spine, you have to gauge how deep you take your twist based on what you've been told by your doctor. So I'm going to bring my left hand to the outside of the right thigh, right palm to the outside of that right hip joint. It's right at that acetobulofemoral joint. Now, if you want to go deeper on your twist than this range of motion, bring the right arm up, externally rotate, then internally rotate to then again externally rotate that shoulder so your cupped fingertips are on the ball. Inhale, you push down into both feet and your right cupped fingertips to lift and lengthen the spine. Exhale, turn the head, look over the right shoulder. Shoulders are back and down, belly button very much engaged here. Twisting postures are excellent for both the large and small intestines, wringing them out. Lift the chest. Right now we're working on the ascending colon. Inhale, head center. Exhale, torso, arms center. Let's take it to the other side. I'm just going to readjust my buttock flesh. Right hand outside to the left thigh. Left hand here. Here's the acetobulofemoral joint. So you're not behind yourself yet. But if you want to go there, that's fine. So I'm going to begin here. This is where you can take your stretch, your twist, you press down into both feet, your hands, you lift and lengthen. You want to go deeper, arm comes up. So here's the medial rotation, internal rotation of the shoulder. Then when I go back here, I then externally rotate it, laterally rotate it. Finally, I land with it internally rotated, cupped fingertips on the ball. Inhale, lengthen spine. Exhale, take that twist. And one side might enjoy your twist a little bit more than the other. So when you do yoga, folks, I strongly advise no food for 3 hours prior, especially because of the twisting postures. So now we're going after the descending colon. So this is just excellent to aid peristalsis. And then inhale, head forward. Exhale, torso, arm. Wow, it's just fantastic what goes on. There's like a rush of blood for me. That's what I feel when I come out of the posture. It's fabulous. Let's take some nice big shoulder rolls. I get into yoga. Listen, it's another form of self-care, and it's so important, especially if you do enjoy cardio like I do, and if you enjoy doing your weights. So it's just another way to sort of give your body some balance. Last one. Okay, folks, so now I'm going to come off the ball for the moment. And what I want to do here is come into just like on my knees, variations, a couple of variations of what you might call a version of downward facing dog. So I'm going to come a little bit more forward. And I'd like you to bring your palms onto the ball. I have my toes tucked under. This is a pretty cushy mat. So if you need more cushion underneath your knees, do it. You can also do this standing if getting down onto your knees is impossible. I'm going to start to walk the ball out in front. Straighten the arms, belly button is in. I'm stretching my fingers wide apart. Oh, now let me tell you something. If you are a swimmer, this stuff is great. You want to be careful of that collapsing. So you want that belly button up and in. I'm keeping the head up. And breathe. Now on the inhale, here's where I flex the spine, working the abdominals slowly, bringing that ball in. Now bending the elbows, placing the forearms on top of the ball, palms are facing each other. I'm going to start to bring the arms out in front. And the ball is pretty much underneath my elbows. If you want, because I have the microphone right here, you can bring your forehead down on the ball. You'll be supporting. You gotta make sure I'm not collapsing that low back, because I love to do that. So I wanna make sure it's what's called, here's an anterior pelvic tilt with the pelvis tipping forward. Here's a posterior pelvic tilt, but it's slightly tucked under. And I'm going to play a little bit. I'm just going to experiment with the position of my arms, maybe a little bit below the elbow. Yeah, it just gives me a different feel. So you can experiment when you're working with the ball. Breathe. Really great for swimmers. Wow. Slowly bring it back in. Now, what I'd like to do, and I'm going to only be able to do this partially because of the microphone setup, but I do want to have you drape over the ball. Now, this would be contraindicated for those of you with the spine flexion issues, is to drape over, but play with it. You might hear some of the ball making sounds as it rolls along. Slowly roll back down, keep the knees on the ball, but still take the spine flexion this way. Now, normally I would lower my head down. Let's see if I can get a little closer. And I'm going to go a little bit closer with my head, but that's it. But you get the idea. And you can turn your head in either direction on your forearms or on your wrists, if you're like that. Rolling up. Let's hold for the moment. Now, I'm going to come all the way back, like off the mat back, all right? Because I want to come out into a plank pose for you. Otherwise, I'm going to be half off camera. Okay, here we go. Walking out and holding here. So we don't want to collapse that low back, right? We want to push the floor away. So you're holding in a plank. The belly button is in. We're not sagging the legs, but we're lifting them up there, engaging the gluteal muscles, engaging the back extensor muscles. And if you want to do this up against a wall, you can. Careful here, carpal tunnel. What you can do is make a soft fist, and you can do it this way so that you're not extending your wrist. Now, if you really want to go deeper into core work, walk out in front, get the ball at least underneath your knees, maybe down to your shins. Push the floor away. And this is a lot of core, folks. It's all working. The abdominals, the transverse abdominis, back extensors, the gluteals. I feel the quads working here. Push the ground away, no collapsing into the shoulders. And are you breathing? So the hands might be off camera, but you get the idea. We're really lifting the shoulders. Head is up, no dangle. And then I'm going to start to walk back. Roll down. And now let's do the one that everybody loves to do. Well, actually, before we do the one that everybody loves, I want to do one other. And I want to do what's known as Parigasana, closed gate pose. I don't know why, but that's what it's called. So I want to get the side of my body right up, the side of the hips, right up against the ball. I'm going to bring the opposite leg out. I'm going to shift it in a little bit. I'm going to lean toward it. Get that side body up against the ball and flattening the back toes. Straighten this leg. Line up ankle to knee to the coxal joint, right? There's a acetobulofemoral joint. And drape your body, your torso, over the ball. Here we go again. I'm doing that kind of slight rotation away from collapsing down toward the ball. And from here, you can bring your left hand to your waist, or if you don't have any issues, arm up and over. Oh, it's fabulous. You're going to also do this with your right hand wrapped around your left wrist, and you can pull. Connect the energy from the left big toe through your left fingers. And breathe. And then inhale, I turn toward the ball to come up. Exhale, hold. Make sure you're not dizzy or anything, right? Before we change sides. I was in a big hurry to get to my big back bend. But I love this stretch. I don't want to bypass this. So, leaning away from the ball for the moment, toward the ball. Ankle, knee, hip joint. Drape over. We want the side of the body to hug the ball. We don't want space because then you're going to hurt your back. Some people do that. They get hurt. I want to make sure I don't wind up into my furniture over here. And take the arm up and over. Oh, feels great. Right, and maybe can I do it without touching the furniture? I think so. Yay. Breathe energy through the right middle finger and the right toes. I don't care what you do with the foot. You can turn it in, you can point it down, whatever works for you. And then inhale, I turn toward the ball. Exhale, come back up. Hold for the moment. Make sure you're not dizzy, all right? Hold steady. And now, let's do a big back bend on the ball. Chakrasana, wheel pose. I'm going to come up a little bit closer here to you. You don't want to sit on the plug of a ball. Sounds weird, but you don't, all right? Make sure you're not on the plug. Okay, now be careful here. So you can hold on if you're kind of unsure, but you want to play with it, so you can keep it safer that way, that's fine. So I'm going to pull the belly button in, and I'm rolling down. Now, I'm going to hold here for the moment with the head up, right? I am kind of in an abdominal crunch a little bit, and keep the knees bent. Before you go full out into it, approach this slowly. Make sure your body says, I'm good with it, right? I'm going to go a little bit further, and then I'm going to let the chest open, the front shoulders, the arms, drape the head back. Obviously not for TIA or stroke, right? Hold here, unless you've been approved, right? Holding here. Let that all open up. Then if you feel confident, let's straighten the legs. And breathe. This is going to relax the abdominal organs and intestines. Imagine doing this after eating. No good. Let it all go. Now maybe you're going to play with this. Interlock your fingers, except the index fingers and thumbs. This creates a steeple. And you can bring those arms up and beyond your head. Oh gosh, another great one for swimmers. Breathe. I'm stretching the abdominals. I'm stretching the hip flexors. I'm in beautiful spine extension. So the opposite of spine flexion, right? Maybe hands toward the heart in Namaste, and we open those arms. Breathe into that heart center. I have to tell you, there are times if I'm really sad or angry and I want to open up, I want to soften and allow my emotions or not be so angry. I come into these heart-opening postures, which are mostly back bends. Sometimes I'll cry, you know, it depends upon what's going on. It is just a release, you know, which is wonderful. You don't let that stress, that emotion trapped in the body, creating dis-ease. Are you breathing? And then inhale. I'm going to bend my knees, start to move a bit. Lift the head. Now, for some of you, lifting the head could be a challenge. Just put your hands behind your head and lift it. Place your hands on the ball to slowly walk back up on the ball. I'm not going to move here. I want to make sure I'm not dizzy, right? Feel okay? I'm waiting for an answer. You know what I mean. So just want to make sure you're nice and steady. I'm going to take myself down to the floor now, putting the ball underneath my legs. Let me just move my blocks and my strap. Make sure you can see me fully. Yep. And bring the legs up and over the ball. Man, you might see a lot of hair on me, on my pants. I can't help because of T, the cat. Man, he can shed. Okay, now for those of you, medicated or not, for hypertension, GERD, and vertigo, I want you to have a hand towel. Fold it up and put it underneath your head. All right. It's a small towel, not a big thick towel. I'm not looking for this. I don't want that. I just want a tiny lift. And I'm just going to drape the legs over the ball, puff up the chest, and just take a few moments to chill out, just to relax. Focusing on the quality of your breath. Just take these few moments to focus in on the sense of gratitude and appreciation for your incredible bodies. They work so hard for us. Appreciating the fact that we can come together and share our practice with each other in the true spirit of yoga, yogi. Uniting together in the process of self-care. And finding gratitude and appreciation for good health. So bringing the palms together in front of the heart. In Anjali Mudra, Mudra is a hand gesture. And at the end of every yoga class, I like to say, the light and spirit within me honors the light and spirit within you. And this translates into the word Namaste. And at the end of each class, we bid each other Namaste.